The Monster Hunter Story series is coming to more platforms in under a month, and it's great news for any turn-based RPG fans. Stories 1 is a 3DS gem, and I'm so glad that it'll be more accessible to a wider audience. And Stories 2 is already out on PC and Switch, but is now coming to PlayStation. We've went hands-on to check these games out, and I'm so glad to be talking about the Monster Hunter Story series again. Stories 1 released at a weird time in the West. It released in September 2017, and even though I bought it back then, all of my attention was on the Nintendo Switch, so understandably it fell under the radar. Back then I enjoyed what I played of it, but fell off after 10 hours or so because there was just too much to play on the Switch. And now that I've finally gone back to it, I'm having a great time. If you don't know, the Story series is like the younger sibling of Monster Hunter. It holds many of the same core elements, like these crazy monsters running around and gear to craft from items that are dropped by the monsters, but instead of it being a hardcore action RPG that is quite inaccessible, it's a more casual turn-based RPG that is geared more towards a younger audience, and therefore is a great gateway into the franchise. It feels distinctly like a Monster Hunter game. Not only due to it being set in the same world with the same armor, weapons and monsters, but even down to the smaller things like the items that you craft to stun enemies, or how they adapted the paintball to make sense in a turn-based game. In the Monster Hunter series, paintballs are used to mark your target, so if they escape, you know where they ran off to. And in Stories, you don't capture monsters like, say, Pokemon. Instead, you weaken them, throw a paintball at them, which then gives them a higher chance of retreating to a den, and then you enter their den, rob their egg, and hatch it. Translating a series from one genre to another can be hard, but when it's done well, it opens up the franchise to new players that otherwise wouldn't have experienced it, and the Story series is a fantastic example of this. It has something for every turn-based JRPG fan. There's so much charm here, from cute characters and monster designs, a vibrant world to explore, and some deep systems to sink your teeth into. For starter, the game still looks gorgeous. It was a looker on the 3DS, and it looks even better now with the power of the Switch. The resolution for the most part is super crisp, and at times you can notice a couple of jaggies, but the monster designs and overall colour of the world goes a long way in making this game look even great to this day. And of course, as is customary to all of these videos, it looks even better on the OLED. The story is quite simple, and so far I wouldn't say I have any critiques of it outside of it being quite predictable, but in the world of Monster Hunter Stories there are riders and hunters. And hunters are what you'd expect from the base games, people who hunt monsters, whereas riders are more peaceful and can tame monsters, or monsties as they're called in this game, and ride them around and use them in battle. And without saying too much, there is a black blight that is affecting monsters, turning them even more hostile than they already were, and that's where your character comes in trying to figure out how to end it. The main thing I've noticed about the story is Navirou. He's your feline companion, and now this game is fully voice acted, which means Navirou is also fully voice acted. And I already knew how divisive he was because of the sequel, but strap in for a load, and I mean a load of cat puns.
Food? For real? Aw, you're the best! Sweet! Then it's settled. I'll stick around and lend you a helping paw.
Now, I don't mind them because of how dumb they are, and it also lends itself well to the Saturday morning cartoon presentation of the story, but be warned. And while we're on the topic of voice acting, it's really well done, even if that very simple writing style can only carry it so far. The core loop of Stories is extremely addictive, and honestly it did a lot of what made Pokemon Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet fun, but multiple years before they even came out. You'll be running around these expansive environments harvesting resources which are used to craft and upgrade gear, and I love how your monsters aren't simply battling machines. They all interact with the environment in different ways. A Velocidrome is quick, but you can also jump to clear gaps and reach hidden areas. Other monsters can swim, climb vines, break rocks, and the list goes on, and it's just another way to build a relationship between you and your monster outside of just fighting. And it's this frictionless loop of exploration that makes it so easy to lose track of time while playing the game. Battling is a typical rock, paper, scissors system, with power attacks beating technical attacks beating speed, and speed beating power. And it's not super important in the basic battles because most enemies can be killed with ease, but the boss fights is where it shines. It's almost like a little puzzle of learning their attack patterns, and it makes them very engaging, even if the game isn't super challenging. And behind all this is a robust system called a Rite of Channeling, which essentially lets you transfer attributes from one monster to the next, so you can have an ice or water monster that also has lightning or fire attacks, but I'll go more into that system in a review later down the line. Now with Stories 2, this is a game I have no experience with, and it's for one reason. I'm not really a PC gamer, and when the game came out on Nintendo Switch, a lot of people were complaining about frame rate drops, which turned me off playing it in the first place. So even though I've only played a small amount of Stories 2 so far, I mainly wanted to check that the PlayStation version had a smooth frame rate. And unsurprisingly, it does. So I'm looking forward to digging my teeth into that once I finish off Stories 1. All I can say is that I'm happy that Stories 1 won't be locked on the 3DS anymore, and hopefully it will be available in perpetuity with newer systems being fully backwards compatible. So are you excited to revisit Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2? If you have any more questions, then leave them in the comments down below. We'll be sure to answer them when we review both of these games later down the line. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.